And I literally went, oh my God, this is like the Wild West. I just refused to play that game.
You've got the money, and when you get there, it just feels maybe empty, maybe not fulfilling. Maybe your life doesn't feel like your own anymore.
I was almost living outside my values. The gap of me realising that and me actually leaving was significant. It was about 10 years.
Take away the title, take away the money, take away what everyone else thinks of you. Who am I underneath all of this? Escaping the burning building.
That is exactly how I would describe it.
Today, I sit down with Kirsty Waite, CEO of the ethical coaching company and my personal coach for 4 years. Kirsty spent a decade in big corporate, rose to leadership, and then burned out. She made a decision most people never make. She walked away, going on to build a business and a life most people only dream about. In this episode, Kirsty shows you how to stop crashing into your holidays, how to start living according to what matters most, and how to build a career you never want to escape from.
Kirsty, you've described leaving corporate, big corporate, as escaping the burning building. What do you mean by this?
Yes, I do. And looking from the outside in, that is exactly how I would describe it. And I think being in the world of corporate, there is a lot of toxicity, there is a lot of ego, there is a lot of demand on your time. And I ended up in a position that I didn't really set out to be in. I ended up getting there, getting promoted, getting jobs. You're ambitious, you're driven, you want to achieve. And I kind of ended up in a role I didn't set out to be in. And I think that makes a difference. When you're in a position that has almost been created and given, the purpose isn't always there. I was almost living outside my values. But when you do that, I feel like you have to give 110% to meet your own expectations. And I did that for a really long time. And what I experienced was poor leadership, environments that I didn't personally thrive in. And I saw some practices that I didn't want to be a part of. And it was just, by the end of it, I was really burnt out.
And I can relate to that so much myself. And I think so many people listening will be able to do the same, because you end up in this career, you think it's going to be a certain way, you think it's going to be this incredible journey, which is fantastic and has all these opportunities, and you've got the money. And when you get there, it just feels maybe empty, maybe not fulfilling. Maybe your life doesn't feel like your own anymore. Is that how it felt for you?
100%. The year that it really kind of peaked was, I think, the year where we got married. We moved house, I think, about 3 times. We moved back to live with my husband's parents. There was just so much going on. When there's a lot going on personally, you can almost tilt the balance. But when there's a lot going on at work and at home, it kind of, there's that strain. And when that year happened, I couldn't survive in that environment and cope with all the changes at home. And that was like a real pivotal moment of, I can't operate like this and be high performing and achieve. So that was a real pivotal change in my corporate career.
So what was the breaking point for you where you realized, actually, I just don't want this anymore, and which led you down the path to actually founding multiple purpose-led businesses, which changed your life forever?
I can't give you a specific moment, because there's the gap of me realising that and me actually leaving was significant. It was about 10 years. I kind of saw this glitzy career in corporate, traveling the world, leading teams, doing really cool stuff. I got to work with some really amazing organisations. To me, actually then leaving that, it was a bit of a slow process, and it started with me having a bit of a breakdown, going, this just isn't working. I don't feel aligned. I don't want to be in this environment. To then me going, what do I want? And that I literally went on this journey of understanding myself, understanding what makes me tick, understanding my values, and understanding why I didn't feel like I belonged in the roles that I was doing. Now, the roles I did, I always got real great satisfaction from. I got to travel the world, which is like a big passion of mine. I got to develop people, which again, a big passion of mine. And I just kind of honed into that, and I went, if I could do that all the time, like, what would that look and feel like? But also giving yourself permission, because I've come from a background where probably is like yourself in law, everyone expects a lot of you, and you have to be on 110% of the time or you're out. Do you know, like, and I mean that from, if you want to succeed, it's hard work. Like, you put the hours in, right? Like, you work really hard. And it wasn't the hard work that I didn't like. It was the understanding why I felt so misaligned. So then, to the point of me actually leaving, I went and trained as a coach, tested out what it was like coaching in the real world, because I coached within corporate as well. And I kind of, when I stepped out of that world into my own coaching practice and methodology, it was literally like going, oh, like, this is what you should be doing.
I love that.
This is it. And I'd spent probably most of my corporate life saying, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. But I almost needed to see what was available and give myself permission to explore. And that genuinely took me probably like 5 to 7 years of exploration whilst I was still in corporate, just going off and doing qualifications, trying different things out. So whilst the breaking point for me to leave was very significant, at the point that I went, I'm leaving this and I'm starting out on my own, was a bit of a line in the sand. But for me to get to that point, there was a lot that happened, and it took me quite a long time to get to that point.
And I think this is so key, because whenever I speak to people about leaving law or changing direction within law, I think people often think it's a kind of overnight moment.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm leaving today and I'm going to do this other career. But actually, it doesn't work like that. It was similar for me. It took me several years. I had a lot of soul searching. I actually quit twice, went back again along that journey. I trained as a psychotherapist, which took 4 years. I had to negotiate a part-time role in the meantime. And then I finally left and became a coach. And I have so many people come to me now and say, that's great that you did all that, Helen, but exactly how did you do it? And how do I believe in myself enough? How do I go from this incredible salary to something else and I don't even know what that is? And I think this here is a bit of a magical piece, because if you've got no idea how to even start to make that transition, and you've got no idea how anyone else has done it, then you just stay stuck. And people don't talk about this enough.
And you feel frustrated. And genuinely, I stayed in that state of constant frustration with myself for a number of years. Like, I used to give each year a name, right? Like, it was like a theme, and it was almost me taking back control and doing something. So it was like the year of action, or the year I'd say yes to everything. Like, I'd give myself these little challenges. But what I do also want to say is, people think that if you're going to change career, it's almost mutually exclusive, of this can't operate without that, or I have to stop this to go to that, where actually it isn't a failure if you weave in these things between each other. And let's be really honest, we've all got bills to pay, we've all got mortgages to pay. The risk of going, I'm going to stop this today and start something tomorrow, with no experience of how to build a business or how to go into this new world, it's really challenging unless you've got some real solid support and cash flow behind you. It's really difficult. And I think when you talk to someone and you say, oh, you know, you've left law or you've started up on your own, there then becomes this impression of what you've got to be. And if you then say, oh, I've got a part-time job, oh, Helen's obviously not doing well, is she? Like, it's almost this external expectation.
Massive stigma, isn't it?
Huge stigma. And I just think, if you can create a life that you don't want to escape from, or you don't crash into your holidays from, like I did for multiple years in corporate, wouldn't that be nice?
And so, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's something around actually maybe accepting that this might not be an overnight process, but maybe starting to lean into things which interest you or just spark your passion. Maybe at that moment, there isn't a monetary value in that, but it's sort of allowing yourself that permission to start to feel into what's interesting to you. Is that right?
100% that. When you're in a career that is demanding and you've invested a lot of years training up, climbing the ladder, you know, being promoted, it's almost like you're in a box, and you're in a box from an external perspective, but also it becomes an identity of who you are and what you do. And starting to unpick that, I think there's a lot of unconscious bias that needs to be looked at within that and unpicked, and almost giving yourself permission to go, actually, that isn't me. This doesn't have to be me. I could be this and that, or I could just be that. But actually just exploring was such a massive part. But to get to that point, I had coaching and I had therapy, but that was like for the toxic burnout that I had. But I had coaching, and that was the first time someone had actually opened my eyes to this whole other development industry that I was like, oh my God, like, let's try this, let's explore that. But unless I kind of give myself that permission to initially go, because at the time, having a career coach was probably really obscure and not many people did it. To the point that I used to have to drive an hour each way to go and sit in this person's house to get coached every other week. And that might seem excessive to some people, but for me, I was just on this exploration journey where I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to go and do that and see where it takes me.
Just pausing for a second to ask a small favour. This is a brand new podcast, and every follow, review, or share helps more than you know. It means I can create more episodes, bring on more top guests and thought leaders, and share the secret lessons and tools that help you build influence, find purpose, and create a career and life you actually jump out of bed for. If that speaks to you, please hit subscribe. It really does make a difference. Now, back to the episode.
You left big corporate. You went on this whole exploration journey. You found out that coaching was something you were really passionate about. How did you kind of get from that point of leaving to now having founded this incredible business where you're one of the leading voices in the coaching and leadership space?
Great question. Fundamentally, my background, taking a step back, was always in, like I've said, internal audit, corporate governance, risk management, heavily regulated industries. Like, I've worked for organisations floated on multiple stock markets. Like, I've worked for not-for-profits that support the military. So I've been in pretty regimented situations. And it was always me, my team's responsibility to ensure we were compliant as a business. So that's a lot of regulation. Fast forward to stepping my foot out of corporate into the minefield that is the online business coaching industry. And I literally went, oh my God, this is like the Wild West. How am I going to operate in this industry was my initial response, because it was just, in my opinion, incredibly unethical. I wasn't seeing real transformation. I was seeing a lot of people doing really unethical practices. They were damaging people. They were leaving them with no money. I was seeing businesses go bust because they'd invested in these people. They'd been missold to. All of these practices were accepted, common in the industry. There's no regulation for coaching in the UK or worldwide. There are significant bodies, but they're not governing bodies. So when I set out my own coaching practice when I first left, I had decided I just had to do it my own way because I could not comply to all of this other standard. Because my background was such a compliant heavy, I had very strict standards and very high standards. So I just kind of went, I'm just going to do this on my own terms. And I was getting incredible results from clients. And the feedback I was getting was like, oh my God, this is a breath of fresh air. What I would say is building an ethical coaching practice in a coaching boom is not a fast way to success. I just want to say that as a side note.
And is that because it was like post-pandemic, suddenly everyone's doing the whole like wellness, well-being, like push yourself forward?
Everyone's doing all of these online, big push tactics. And I just refuse to play that game. There's two sides to every coin, right? And like 90% of my clients were word of mouth and referrals. And that's incredible. Difficult to scale, but incredible. So then I went, if I believe so much in how I'm coaching, I need to do something different. And I felt like I almost had to go and prove myself with my own business, with my own coaching practice, get some evidence that my approach was actually impactful as well as ethical. And I did that. And I did that for about 4 years. And then I went, right, I feel like I now have the authority to actually put my head above the parapet and make a difference in the industry. I felt credible. And that was really important to me. So that's when I started the Ethical Coaching Company. And that is basically coaching and strategic partner for small and micro teams to give them access to really transformational coaching and strategic support to help them grow in a sustainable, ethical way. And as part of that, we have our own business coaching accreditation, and everything we do is approved and accredited by the Institute of Leadership. It's really important to us that everything we do is not just accessible, it's transformational to people and their business. So we have an ethical charter that we operate to, and that basically governs how we run our business, how we show up. And we were very vocal and very open and transparent. That was so important to us, of like, this is who we are, this is what we do, and we don't hide anything. We really wanted to challenge the mediocrity that we were seeing in the industry.
And on the issue of mediocrity, we have huge problems in law. We have huge amounts of toxicity. There's narcissism. There's poor leadership.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to kind of tackle that? And alongside that, by the way, something I really want to talk to you about, because I know you've got some strong views on this as well, is how you even make it as a woman in this.
Yeah.
Because you've just got this whole plethora of issues. Like, one, how do you even make it to the top? How do you survive it to the top? And how do you do it, particularly if you're a woman?
In corporate world, being a woman, you have to operate like a man. And I'm sorry that if anyone's sitting saying, oh, the world's changing, it's changing, but it's not changing at the rate that it needs to change. And definitely the world of corporate that I grew up in, the women were very in their masculine energy, and it was very much everyone behaved the same. And I didn't want to be that. And don't get me wrong, as a person, I operate in my masculine quite a lot. My natural instinct is I'm an action taker, I'm fast, I move, but I also recognize empathy versus ego. And I think that's really important. So coming back to the whole making it and leading it, I think when you've gone through so much kind of self-exploration of like, who am I? And I know that sounded like a little bit of a like woo-woo, who am I? Like, but who am I as a person?
That's the question though, isn't it? That we all come back to. It's that who am I underneath all of this? Take away the title, take away the money, take away what everyone else thinks of you.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah. And I vowed at the point of leaving corporate to never operate outside of my own authentic values again. And it was understanding what that meant and what the boundaries were and what was non-negotiable and what wasn't. And this is a constant, and you'll know yourself as a coach, you self-reflect on everything all the time. And that's like one of the key practices, isn't it? And I think it's something that we do with our clients, self-reflection. And in the corporate world, it's like amazing. They don't do it because
no one self-reflects.
And I know people are advocating collaborative, better leadership. And I understand there are other people singing from this hymn sheet, and I love it. And it makes my heart sing when I do see that. But it is a challenge. Being a female leader, it's been a challenge like at every step, but I think I just keep coming back to what is it that I want. When I think about the legacy I want to create, I want to help. Our whole vision and mission is to transform the world of work, and that's using the power of coaching and coaching-led leadership to do that. And there's a real stark statistic, 10% of the UK workforce are engaged. So that's 90% of people who are operating unhappy in their workplace every single day. And that was where I was when I was in corporate. I want to give people a choice to have a different way. But of those 90%, 75 attributed that to their direct line manager.
100%. Yeah.
So in my head, I'm going, if we can create better leaders, better coaching-led collaborative managers, we're going to have a wider impact and a wider reach. So that became our drive. And regardless whether you're male, female, or whatever you want to be represented as, everyone should have a great experience in the workplace.
So what do you say to the person who's in a law firm, for example, they've got a terrible line manager, maybe they've got aspirations to climb the ladder, maybe they've got aspirations to do something else, but they're feeling stunted, they're feeling stuck, maybe they're lacking a sense of purpose. What should they do?
It's really difficult for me to go and do that, because the easy answer would be leave, right? But we don't all have access to be able to do that realistically. And this is at the point where you need to stop and take a step back. And I think it's particularly in law, this is why coaching, I feel, is a huge benefit in law, by the way. It encourages people to slow down. When you're in an industry that's 100 miles an hour, everything's billable hours, everything's moving, slowing down feels counterintuitive, right? So helping people just slowing down and going, what is it that I truly want to get out of this? Whether that is a certain experience on your CV so you can move, whether it is into that certain position, whether it is a better work-life balance, like what truly do you want? Because we almost stop ourselves believing that we can have what we want or experience it, because especially in a very traditional industry, there's a certain path, there's a certain route. So I would just invite someone to slow down and start self-reflecting. And you have no control over somebody else. If your line manager is a narcissist or isn't a very nice person to work for, fundamentally, you can only do what you can do within your control or within your power of influence. It's when the balance and the exchange of that becomes too much for you. If I've worked with people and for people who have gone, I'm misaligned in values here, whether that's integrity, whether it's honesty, like there's something not, there's a rub. And I have a non-negotiable boundary where I goes, right, okay, I can sit in here, because for me to get to that next level, I know I really need this experience. I want to try and, I don't know, lead that team or whatever it is. That's the exchange. When that exchange becomes too much and it's over my non-negotiable boundary, for me personally, I have to remove myself from that situation. But I recognise that's easier said than done. And it can take time for you to remove yourself. So for that person who's sitting going, oh, I feel just stuck, genuinely slow down and stop, remove yourself from where you are. And I always say to clients, I just want to pick you up, zoom you out and just look at things really holistically. And what is it that makes you happy? Like genuinely, what kind of people do you want to be around? Who do you want to be aligned with? Who do you want to work for? Like all of these things really start to just get your mind going of like, actually, being in this environment, I'm never going to thrive. And it's coming to terms with, okay, so where would I thrive? What would I like?
So if I'm at a point in my career where I'm thinking, actually, I want to progress, I want to be a great leader, or I want to set up my own firm and do it really well, what can I do to become the best leader possible?
AI is, whether you like it or not, it's going to make huge changes in that industry that's been very traditional for a very long time. AI is going to be doing things better than what you can do it in some aspects, right? What then becomes more important is how we lead, how we treat our people, what our leadership style's like. So actually becoming a really great people leader is what's going to be your superpower. And that includes emotional intelligence, understand how to manage correctly, getting a skill set that allows you to be able to coach. And I don't mean coach as in become a coach full time, but like have a coaching approach, be curious, create a culture of trust within your team, because that's the elements that AI can't replicate, right? So that's a really great opportunity.
And I keep hearing being bandied around at the moment that actually AI is meaning that the people skills that we have are going to be more important than ever before. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Like how you make somebody feel in the workplace is something that AI can't do. If we can look after our people better, it creates a much better environment. You're going to get that back tenfold. If you create a great place to work, you are going to have incredible high-performing people.
Thanks for listening to Lawyer Unleashed. If you'd like to find out more about Kirsty and the Ethical Coaching Company, you can find the links in the show notes. And if this spoke to you, please hit subscribe and share this with a friend who you think would benefit.